Hello and welcome to this building domain session as part of the buildingSMART International Standards Summit Lillestrøm 2023. Thank you for joining. My name is Sheila Karailam and I will be your moderator today. Today's session is titled Daylight Design and Life Cycle Assessment. Our session will be hosted by David Ivey, and the session is scheduled to last 90 minutes with time for questions at the end. The session is being recorded and will be made available in the replay section of the event as soon as possible. Before I hand over to our speakers, I would like to remind you that this is a hybrid event. For the online attendees, your microphones will remain muted for the duration of the session. If you wish to ask any questions, please use the chat box in the control panel. And for those in the room, please do try to keep background noise to a minimum and raise your hand if you wish to make a comment or ask a question, and one of us will bring a microphone to you. I would also like to bring to your attention that buildingSMART is committed to ensuring that participation in the development of standards is unrestricted and the process for their adoption is transparent, and standards that are developed do not favour any particular provider and are open, non-binding and accessible to all. Please take note of our antitrust code of conduct, which is on the screen now. And with that, I would like to hand over to David.
All right, we're going to go out of order a little bit. We're going to do number 2 first and number 1 second. So first up, we have life cycle assessment with Jan-Anders Jonsson, who's on the Building Domain Steering Committee, and Peter Johansson. I'm going to skip the university because she took it away, and that was my only guide. So, so I'll let you guys go ahead and get started, and I'll hand the mic to you.
Hello. We're going to talk about a project in the smart built environment, an innovation program from the government in Sweden. And it's a 2.5-year program, I think.
Precisely, yeah.
And it is to use the existing standards and see that we get the information infrastructure to work together throughout, from the early beginning stages to the asset management.
Precisely. And my name is Peter Johansson, Jönköping University. It's a small university in Sweden, but we have a rather big focus on digitalization. And I have 3 members far down there that all work in this area. Yes. So how do we do? Or great, perfect. Yes. So the project is about open access to digital data sheets for product properties based on data templates. It's a lot of these abbreviations or these things concerning to product data. So the base is product data, and then we have a lot of discussions and what a data template and what is a dictionary and so on. But that's what we try to figure out in this project then. And yeah, you have probably seen this picture several times these couple of days, that you have a couple of standards connected to product data, where you have the dictionary and you have the data template. And the problem the figure is taking from CoBuilder, like most is in this area, I should say. They started and have done a really good job. But what they identified was that for each property concerning products, you describe them with a different terminology all over. And you also have different standards relating to the same property. So it's not just that you use use different names. You also use different methods for each property, so you can calculate then a property using different manners. This is we also, as you may know, we have a lot of regulations. I guess some of you have seen this during the week, also connected to construction products from EU, and that also, of course, influence. And here you have also a picture describing this. But I think we have discussed that enough, so I think I jumped that one. So the vision of the project. The vision is first the focus, product data, yes, but we also, as all have now, a focus on we want to contribute to environmental performance, becoming a part of the product selection, etc. And we also see that we have templates now. We have these standards describing the templates, and we try to connect that, how to use the product data focusing on environmental performance. The data template concept also apply to other types of properties. So here we start with working with environmental performance, but that will provide us with an infrastructure that of course should be used also for the other types of properties. The direct benefits that we try to focus on concerning benefits from industry is for the building materials industry and also the product providers to the industry, and having one data drop so we do work in the same manner. And that should then give hopefully digitizing from case to delivery, and then the entire construction process to digital information delivery to the developer, as asset information model, that we also have that part included. Yeah, maybe you can take this one.
In the project we have several external parts. EPD International, EPD Norge is providing EPDs as it is. GS1 is participating in the project for both for the GTIN and for the GMN development. And GMN is a product group for a specific supplier. And we have a Byggvaruindustrins Förening in Norway.
Yes. So what we are aiming for is we have the international set, as you have also seen during the week. We are then aiming for how do we apply this to the Swedish situation. And the first and the most important, yeah, they are all important, but that's of course defining a national data dictionary. We see we have this work, we build in smart data dictionary, all these discussions, how the dictionaries should communicate and be connected to each other. We want to see a national one. How should that look like in Sweden? That one. We also want to investigate this then connected to the National Board of Housing, Building and Planning, and Swedish Transport Administration, and National Land Survey for synergies with further EU legislation. That's also connected to the Swedish set. Then we have a lot of different institutes in Sweden that need to work together with this. Suggest an organization, cost and business model for this work, especially then also to manage and governs the data dictionary and product data template. So structure and introduction for implementing product data templates and data dictionary. I should say it's two things, although it's written as it is one thing, it's two a little bit different things. What can our parts of the coordination network look like between different domains? So that's also something else we look into. Also guidelines should be developed for existing standard. We have a number of them, so maybe we go further and look into them.
And developing data templates is not included in the project. It's the way of retrieving data and dropping data. Yeah, work package 2 is handling structure for common scalable solution for sharing product data. And the work package develops and evaluates how the sharing product data in the construction can be made more efficient by allowing manufacturers to distribute data, but still make it searchable from one place. Number 2, implementation of the information node and supplier interfaces. Look at how we could do so that we got some type of nodes that we can access so that we can put down the amount of searches and so on those connections. Yeah, and that we have found out in Sweden, everything always be the problem, the business model. How do we get those things to work and be paid so that it will work? Theory is one thing, practice and economy use always be another thing. Yeah, work package 2 or resource node forms in order to be able to link specific product information from a packing slip to the same product when ordering these products. That must be linked together. And such a key is missing, for example, in EPD today. When we get the information, the delivery product to a site, for example, we have very hard to get that back to the information. So how to handle these messages so that we have the right information, so that we can collect information about the delivery and about the transportation and about the amount of material. Yeah. Yeah, this is another problem that is very often coming. We are talking about EPDs and the EPDs from the program operators. Program operators do the head EPD, the EPD for often a group of products. And when we're talking about performance, we want to get this article's performance. Then we talk about daughter EPDs in common, and that is a abbreviation of the full EPD based on the exact amount of things in the read article. And those EPDs are not published by the program operator. So we have to have a way of handle these so that we get so exact environmental performance, presenter, and so on as we can. And therefore we have this hub that we are talking about here, and we will implement this in the project.
Great. I'm mainly responsible for this part, so this I know, that's good. But I have several questions there. But the problem, the application test performance so far linked to data templates as we have worked in Sweden, and we as delivery, It is therefore possible to comply that has been delivered, but not how much of this that has been delivered and in what way. To achieve this, more than one delivery note needs to be required. So having this, we want to have the full spectrum. We don't have the overall control into the asset information model. We would like that and have the pieces connected. So having that, we will have the focus here on a couple of things. The first one is co-class. It's a classification system of Sweden. And there we see that we can define each element in a special way. And we also put requirements on, for instance, a door or a wall and so on. And that's really what we work with connected to co-class. So a definition of the object and then the requirements. And I will not bore you with these details. The other one, as you have seen a lot today, is that should we use GeoTIM as a base or not? We will focus on URLs or URIs, web links, but that really includes also then GeoTIM, as you can see here. So this is a GeoTIM number, and then you connect it into, create it into a URI. So that's the two basic parts. And having just them connected then to the standards that we today use. Of course, it's the buildingSMART standards. Here I have them, a light fixture as an object in the model. So how do we connect these pieces? The reference, the identifier of the object, the requirements, connected into IFC. And if you say that's not a problem, we hope it isn't, so we just can connect the pieces, finalize this project in a month, and then have a lot of free time. But it may seem that there are still some problems. We also, in the handover, have a special information model that we use. So XML, IF2 XML. So how do we then connect through the process the reference or the identifier of the object, the requirements connected to the product into the asset information model?
Yeah, and we want to use these existing facility management programs and asset databases and their connections. So therefore we like to investigate if we can let FI2 XML connect to the data dictionary so that we can get the value list and classification lists in that way. In that way, we can use the existing standard there to overcome a time gap.
This is, this is in Swedish. We see that a lot of companies, this is from NCC, they always try to working having LOIN as a base, or as we call it in Sweden, LOD cards, describing the information requirements, similar as IDS. So this was interesting. They investigated just for then having a door and saw that the door then contains a lot of different features. So you have parts of the door here that they need information about, different products. So this can be provided from one company. This can be maybe the same, but also from another one, and so on. And these are kind of structures that make it a little bit difficult. You also have the time aspect. So we describe LOD, the different times in the project you need different information. So it becomes quickly rather complicated still. That is just a door we are talking about. Yes. So that was the base. And I hoped really that you said that, isn't it already done? We think it is, more or less. What we want to do is to gather what we have today, put it in Sweden with the settings that they have in Sweden, implement that. And we hope that more of you are interested in doing the same thing than connected to your national environment.
And we will like to see some international member in the reference group of the project, because so that we don't do it for Swedish.
Great.
Any questions? Mirbek's got a question. Here, let me get the mic. All right, Mirbek has a question. Q&A time.
All right, thank you. It was a nice presentation. I have only one question regarding the properties that I mentioned. Are you using this, or at least you're familiar with product domains, global warming potential properties that they created? Are you using? Is it really useful? It can be.
They will be very useful, yes. Yeah, of course. It's the 22067, I think. But yeah, and those environmental EPD product data templates are meant to use when we are talking in the broader spectra, and we use the internal language ILCD when we talk to the program operators. So we will go for the one that I talked about in the product domain.
Any other questions? Once, twice. You ready, Mirbek? Well, if you have another question, or you can just do daylighting design analysis in respect for building energy performance. In respect to Mirbek's the technical director for the German chapter. Technical project manager. You going to use that?
So, hello everybody. I'm Mirbek, simple Mirbek. Just also like David and Johansson and Joleva, the member of steering committee, the building domain. I'm technical lead of this domain. As a result, I'm also sitting in the SAT Standards Committee technical executive. And in my free time, I'm a firefighter. I mean, means not free time, actually 74/7. It means 24/7 hours, 7 days. Anytime can be called for a dispatch, but it's just a volunteer stuff. Climate Pact ambassador, EU Climate Pact, so spreading the word of sustainability. So do we have to put it there? Yeah. Why we are talking about BIM, building energy modeling. This is really interesting aspect. When we want to achieve something efficient, we need to simulate to see if we get some result later on that we really targeting, right? And before you start doing something, you need to simulate. If you need to achieve something, then you should maybe have some guidance. And we worked on that guidance, and it's called BIM, actually IDM, Information Delivery Manual, IDM BIM technical report. And there we have we collected many domain experts, stakeholders, the green building certification institutions like DGNB, LEED, USGBC, LEED, BREM, and so on, and Passive House. They were all involved. They, of course, they were part of expert panel. They gave us a feedback, and that was really important. So there is a link. You will find it now, QR code that I will just share now. And of course, there within the document, we mentioned simulation aspects, simulation steps, and of course, If you start with conceptual design or bioclimatic design, you will at the end up also simulating daylight analysis. So it's a really important aspect. Why? Because daylight is also has a very direct effect on your building energy performance or building energy loads that you will probably reduce if you plan properly, right? It means you on the south facade, you may create a bigger windows. If it's, let's say, if it's heating targeted area, like in Norway, I would say, not in Dubai somewhere, that you actually better reduce windows on south facade. But at the same time, you need to think about on solar shading, because overheating is always there. Then you will not have to use air conditioning, so that it will be another load for your energy system. So, of course, light. I will not explain to you. I don't want to give you some lecture on daylight in general, because it's obvious. If you imagine the room constantly sitting on the basement without window, you'll have sickness, depression, and so on. That is even called the sick building syndrome. It's different stuff, but it also affects that syndrome as well. As a part of this BIM report, we, together with Jeffrey and all other experts, we worked on, of course, on the process maps. There is a process map that you will find on the attachment there on the appendix. And those exchange models. Exchange models mean what I need to do in order to run simulation. I need to know my requirements, so that's what I got. And this is the simple basic information, and like what I need to have. Of course, the information I need to know the geographic location, right? It differs. It's a very small piece of theory that I want to bring you. It depends on the location. So it's daylight in northern countries is completely different as in southern countries. So you have to keep about. In order to run simulation, you should choose standards that are applicable plus specific time. So that's what we did in this use case. This link, it's published on use case management platform, UCM. Feel free to scan it. It's available. It's already published. Use case management platform, it's like recipe book, let's say. You know why recipe? It's you find some examples, you find some solutions that may be useful for you, for your project. You can profit from them. That's why I like to make an analogy as a recipe. And this is our recipe for daylighting. Okay. Why daylighting is important? There are many initiatives. European Union, as a part of the EU Green Deal, they, of course, spread the word, and there's one topic is green buildings. Just simply buildings. I would say we want to achieve energy efficient, water efficient, resource efficient buildings. And we currently have a building stock, like more emissions from the buildings, 40%. But from that 40%, we already have 80% existing build stock, right? That is a really huge amount. And in order to address those, initiatives, you need to provide some solutions, and of course some standards, some certification that may be really useful for. I just wanted to give you some related information. There are many certifications. There are green building certifications, or standards that related to health environment, indoor environment, and of course the requirements for energy, atmosphere, like in LEED, like in passive house. And of course you have some requirements that you need to follow. And then we have solutions. No, probable solutions. Or I don't talk about theory, because today I will be showing you real examples based on real process. You just need to optimize your processes. You need to show how it works and which way you have to use specific standards and services. And this is Exactly, as a credit to Norwegian chapter that was original, coming from Norwegian, and it became international video. Here's the source. You can find it. What openBIM does for you, and there you will find the building, the school building. School building is, of course, delivered with an IFC model. You have an IFC model or models, and then at the operation phase, you will, of course, end up your house manager, I don't know, house manager, the facility guy who is or asset manager of the building in this area is a school building, will be checking the facility, walking around to see those kind of broken windows, how we should respond, how we should reflect that information in our model. We don't reflect that in the model because it's dynamic information. You can simply use BCF as a solution. That was an idea. And of course, properties, that's very important. Like in the previous presentation, you have a lot of properties that might be related to that specific building component. And this is our process map. Oh, you will find it also in use case management. It's all available there. This is a classical process map starting. By the way, it's phase independent because it can be an existing building, right? It's project dependent. It means I can have a renovation of an existing building or a new building. But the most important, you have all your requirements here. You need to know your requirements. If you want to have, I don't know, achieve a green building, whatever certification, or in general, you want to have a good environment, then I will, as a client, say, like, guys, I need a big, wider windows on the south facade. Please install that, and I will calculate that. But still, I need to get a reference model. I need to have that model, and then we will start as a sub-process, the sustainability designer, or let's say lighting designer, who will be dealing with daylight analysis, right? And then that person should work on the steps. I will describe the steps now slowly, but before, requirements. This is my requirements that I simply brought to you as a minimum requirement for my daylight analysis. You have to keep in mind that you have, of course, software vendors that provide software solutions that applied and implemented IFC schema, and some of them implement, of course, only IFC 2x3. So you should know that there might be some limitations. And as soon as you know that, you will reflect that in requirements to your contractor or whoever. I'm a client or I'm an architect. I know what the sustainability expert who will be dealing with that should send me. So I expect from architect, send me please in a model with a site location. I need to know if it's in Dubai or in Lillestrøm, right? So I need to know that. I need to have my walls because I need to do I need to have building envelope. Without building envelope, I will not be able to simulate it clear. In order to do that, I have to have walls, especially windows, openings, and a skylight dome type as a types. I need to have doors. I need to have roof slab, shading devices an option, spaces required, and so those are options, but what others are mandatory. So it means in my requirement, I created, by the way, IDS. There is an IDS that you can download directly over UCM. So what I need to do to run this use case, I have BIM authoring tool, clear. I need to have a viewer, or client also should have a viewer. There are many of them. I need to have a lighting simulation software, CDE platform to share the models, IDS creator and validator. I need to have BSTD, it's all available there. BAM tool. Why BAM? Why BAM? Because I want to prove that whatever I open in the south facade, I can show to my architect that the building will gain really a lot of sun and that energy, it will be warmer. So I need to prove that. And it happened. I had a project in the past when we discussed with an architect, he said, yeah, no window, no big window. I insisted that we don't have to have on north facade big windows, because that is, of course, reduction of the solar gain for me. But daylight, but not a problem. But there will be really huge loads later on energy. And I proved it many times. We'll prove it today. I brought you 2 buildings. One building, it's you can criticize some small mistakes, but it's not existing, but it's a new building. I tried to, that was a building permit at my house, or former house, let's say, and then we wanted to target some criteria, passive house, and so on. So this is building, and the second case, we have 2 cases today. But we have existing building, and this typical building being used everywhere, right? Construction sites, especially the building I used was a office for foreman, right? On construction site, the construction manager. And these kind of buildings are really typical, and they're leaky, they're not energy efficient, but still you can prove what could be improved there. So, of course, you remember the process. We start with IRs, we define, when we can provide a proposal, daylight analysis tasks, checking target requirements, design tool analysis methods. So this is a process that starts here. We send all package to our sustainability guy or expert. And then as soon as we start defining our targets, defining our methods, we start to checking a model. That's important. Everyone, if I got a model from architect, I would also expect that architect, before sending me a model, will check by itself if it's really a feasible model and there are no issues in it. So that's actually a message to everyone. Please check your models before you send it to anyone. Otherwise, I will do that anyway, my checks, because then I will directly give a response. Actually, there is a IFC 4, actually, but I was expecting IFC 2, 3, just an example. And of course, all others. So this is a step now I'm doing, and I can use for that, as just an example, any modeling tools, or when I really have a specific example, I will use ideas. You have heard many ideas workshops. There is one idea that I tried to create, and I tried to model that. And there is steps as a credit from BSI. So this is a normal step, how to create ideas. You remember the requirements I mentioned you? Side, walls, so building envelope, openings, doors. That's what I do. I create that. I'll send it to my subcontractor, contractor, whoever, the lighting designer, modeler verifies software. So then they start creating a model, in that case, like lighting design simulation, and then for lighting design simulation. But architects at the end will send me a model that meets my requirements, hopefully. I got my IFC and I can validate it. Just an example. It's just an example. I want to have a space. It should have a name. It should be a name that should be tagged and so on, right? So I want to say, of course, I also want to have that the spaces, if it's external or there's a space, it's not external. I need internal space, because external it's irrelevant for my use case, right? And I want. This is just an example. It's a flammable storage. As I want to just show that what kind of spaces and what properties you can use. And I can actually validate this model and those requirements. If everything fine, as you can see, that looks like everything fine in my model, I can start with my validations later on. But if I have some problem, this is just an example that I had actually some classification that I actually wanted to check, then the system will alert and say, we have a problem, And this problem we can find directly at the end. There are different kind of tools as well. There was Akka software, and this is, I guess, from ODA. They have the user Weaver, and there is a really good ideas validator. You can import your validation and say, well, okay, I have some door problems or whatever, or other requirements. So in order to start simulation, I also need to get the climate data. And if I know climate, sure, I can start my simulation. But if I knew some sites where I can get my climate data, I can simply access that weather data and historical weather data, plus with some, there are some plugins that applies climate change, so some percentage. And according to that, I can run some simulation, bioclimatic simulation, and the program will show you some strategies that you potentially can apply into that area. So it means I will know, okay, I definitely need to install big windows on the south side with a shading. So I do that, I start working, and I run daylight simulation. I import my new building, the house that you have seen now, and that's, by the way, I didn't change model. I didn't remodel it. I simply imported it. The location was here. The all the other requirements was so I'm lazy engineer. I remember the previous presentation. I'm really a lazy engineer. I want to focus only on solution, on real design issues, and I don't want to spend my time remodeling. So that is exactly a message. Then when the export import functions well, then you got this result. So this is within 20 minutes I got my results, including simulations. I simply imported the building. IFC work plane, I have all that areas, and of course it's according to EU standards and or international standards. And I see I have only room number 4 and number 7 that pass my requirements, and some other not. Number 3, I guess, is the room number 3. Focus on the other examples. The same way the container building, very clear, you have big issues here. So what we're gonna do at the end, we have next step, and daylight analysis, call them, should start thinking how we can improve it. And at that moment, you can start thinking, okay, guys, I have some idea. Let's put bigger openings on the south facade, or maybe we can install simply a skylight if you have a chance to install skylight, or if we know that we need to protect our south facade from overheating, was really important aspect, then we can find this kind of solution. That's what we thought. Let's put on the south facade simply overshading, and not just overshading, but also with a photovoltaic panels. Then you save place to your green roof, whatever, you can install it and later on. So of course, this kind of design decisions, and you can apply them. Here, what I did to prove what is the difference and what is the effect, I simply deleted the windows on the west facade, 2 windows, plus I simply, there is a terrace here, that on that floor, and I simply installed the skylight. And as a result, room number 3 got some difference. I can show you later on. It tried to reach 404, looks still not enough. It's still dark in spite of that. So it still shows me that result is not achievable yet. Now I want to show you the example. The building, we had the heating load 18.5, right? This is simply a screenshot from the energy simulation as a result. And you have the breakdown here. You see that we have 18.5 kilowatt per hour per meter square per annum. I installed simply a skylight, you remember, skylight, and I have now 18.4 So I got some minimal effect, so it doesn't bring so many positive sides. Why I have to install a window, which is money? It costs me extra. So it gives me at least one understanding if it's visible, if it's not, what it brings me at the end. And of course, as a client, as a building owner, it will give me a chance to predict and plan properly. I mean, at least decide at the end. So it's the same thing. You remember we had the windows on south side. I simply moved the windows to the north to show you what will be, how big is the negative effect of installing. Yeah, you will have 313, but yeah, container building, by the way. You see that the different numbers in energy load, 251 kilowatt per hour per meter square per annum. So that's really huge. You spend a lot of energy on that. Of course, it's not good insulated like the other house that I planned for ourselves. It was almost passive house standard. Now, the change of the window from south to north, 261. Go back, 251. In numbers, just to give you an example, in numbers, 10 kilowatt per hour per meter square per annum, it's a lot of energy. So that's a point that you can give a proof of concept. You can give some evidences to clients, or clients simply can decide by themselves what it brings to me if I install a huge window on my north facade. That's a really interesting aspect. Now, how I communicate. I did my simulation. I'm a lighting designer, sustainability designer, whoever. I communicate. I don't have to put that information in IFC model. I don't. Why? Because it's a dynamic. For me, it's a dynamic information. I can do it later on, but instead, I'm using BCF. As a result, I can pack the simple even screenshot. I can, in description, I can simply pack the link to the certificate or to report of the simulation tool. I can pack the plus I can select even the right building object. In this case, I have a slab of the container. I simply selected that. I'm telling I don't reach my daylighting goals with this windows and with this type of opening. So we need to have some solution. And I can simply write a small report and describe why. Plus, it happens on a model basis. It doesn't happen that you send an email. Of course, if you have issue management tools platform where you can simply exchange BCFs directly over the platform. So the feedback, in the feedback, you can't send it via the BCF. This, of course, based on the model. And then issue management, it's a really good thing to consider that you have, like in German, Krankheit history, like sickness history, also medical history. And the medical history, you know when the person was sick, when you had the issues, when you had, when you last time visited a dentist, whatever. The same thing happens in building. So if you do it in the issue management and track with BCF, you remember where you had the window cracks and what's the status, if it's still repaired or should be repaired, when, and if someone are repaired, you can also tag the same person, same task. Task is done, completed, and still in your system. It's completely available. So at that message, I'm reaching the final. And of course, there is one more use case as we did in the past. It was BCF for building owners with a focus on building documentation of airtightness retrofits. So you can find it also on UCM, and it might be interesting for you. So thank you for your attention. And if you have questions, I'm glad to answer you those questions.
Questions, anyone?
If I will put a QR code again, so you.
Yeah, thanks for the presentation. I actually have a question. Did you ever combine it with the topic of the previous presenters, actually, life cycle analysis, where you can, well, compare the current design with a new design on the whole life carbon part?
Yeah, absolutely. There's one thing to consider. Depends which software. I guess I'm not allowed to say any companies, but there is one particular solution exactly named LCE and something. I will not call. It will be not fair to everyone. With that solution, we used to simulate those examples, like same way. Case one, we had, let's say, windows, but better windows, but those windows was a timber frame windows, but they were PVC. So what it will bring us, and the values, of course, coming from was APDs. So we knew that plastic is not good, so it will be potentially, when it will dispose, it will be additional waste. But if you have a timber window, you can actually reuse it later on. That was an interesting aspect. You need to renovate a little, but there we had the chance to show that certificate that was attached in the product as a window. We could be able to use it for our simulations. Yeah. You have to come.
Yeah. Yes, continue. That was a really good proposal. We are working with light design as one of our main features when we are trying out this new way of working in Sweden. So that would be very good to connect, because I think you need product data also, because you need to show the product. The glass, what glass you should have, for instance, influence this. But two questions. The first one, I hope, is rather simple. You do the IDS. How do you, in Sweden at least, you try to get the architect families, Revit families, with placeholders. Did you do that step? That you had the ideas as base to create then placeholders for the different properties in the Revit model, or whatever you used as?
Well, unfortunately, there is no yet BSTD API for Revit, and there is only currently what I used to was a SketchUp BSTD API. It worked well, so I don't have to. It's really tricky, time consuming to create the custom properties in any BIM authoring tool. You have to create a property, you have to check how it looks like. And with a solution that is currently available for some softwares that implemented BSTD API, it was really great, because I choose only the model building component, and I choose BSTD domain, the related domain. I choose that, and it will be directly applied. So as soon as I see that that was exactly the workshop there, the previous one, we'll try to send you later on. You can choose a building component, you can choose properties that you can fill with, and you export IFC. But the lack of implementation of BSTD API makes it difficult. You need to use custom properties. You have to bring to them to families, and in Revit is a family, and you, especially if you don't have a database with a material building parts, you need to create by themselves those families, whatever. Even like the chair, if I know I have a certificate for this chair and I know the specs, I create a simple geometry, I check the dimensions, so that's like a dimension that I need to fill in my area, especially for MEP parts. And then you will see the certificate. You need to take those values into account. That's really handwork, and actually I would be happy if those would be available somewhere as a database to download, install, run, and it's ready. So, second question?
That comes
hope-
to my
yeah.
second questions. We had a test with a PhD student working with Elite Fönster, a window provider in Sweden. And she then made, working in the same manner as you did, also had some more features that we investigated. So it wasn't just energy and light. But she produced then 45,000 different settings of the windows for one room just to test it, and then different properties or choosing different kind of windows. Automatically, this could be provided, and she worked with just one system. But do you think you could ever do like that? Because you have a process here. Could it be fully automatic so you can test 45 different variants?
It depends on the software. It depends on software. There are software that use some scripts. You can. It's classical that we're currently being implemented. You use Grasshopper, or you use second one. Grasshopper and Dynamo, yes. So Dynamo, and of course, if you create a script, you can create a workflow. With that workflow, can potentially run many simulations like you want, not only simulations, options and design options. I think that's a easiest way, at least. We did one example, but it was different aspect, different topic. We had simply used one for modular construction. We used one container, the same container, not same, different type of container building to find out the best optimal combination to fill a space plus those models, and we used Dynamo at that time. It was the first time the BIM students competition for BIM by BCA, so it's a BIM building construction authority of Singapore. They had in the past DFMA competitions. So that was really interesting. But still, since then, the software is being developed further, and in between there are some other solutions. Of course, it's a question. You need to have an open standard, but for open standards, you need to provide solutions. And currently, I don't see that will be so easy. Maybe external APIs like with this plugins, and you can find and create a script, but as integrated, there are many also from Autodesk product. They also have some integrated solutions for options, including AI, artificial intelligence. It's also different stories. Yeah. You have. Thank you.
It was a really good presentation, and thank you.
Thank you. Likewise.
Anybody else have a question?
Sorry? I myself question for myself. Well, maybe I can ask a question. Have you had examples what you would like to test? Feel free to try this workflow. Try by yourself. All that software I mentioned, they're all free. I mean, it's the Dialux and the Relux, they're all available in Mark. You can use any free. By the way, in order to create a BCF, you don't have to have license. I mean, licensed software. You can also do this same with the free weavers. You create a weaver, you send your results to your partner, to your colleagues, and you will see if the workflow that we propose there as a process map works. And I'm pretty sure it will work like that. So I will not keep you so long, and I would love to explain you further examples, but will thank for this this time, your patience, your interest, and of course, a really good appreciation for moderation and nice session. I hope it was interesting.
Thanks, Mirbek.
Thank you.
And Jan Anders and Peter. Thank you all.
Yeah.